Hello creative friends, this is Joy coming to you with a mini journal that I decided to make. So I took this 18 by 24 inch piece of mixed media paper and decided to make it into a mini journal. So I folded it in half the long way and then folded it in half again. And then here I'm folding in each end into the middle, so that I end up with 8 sections on this page. And then I begin to cut in the middle on this piece of paper so that I can turn this into a little mini journal. And I was going to use the little straight edge there, but it wasn't really cutting very straight. So then I grabbed my scissors. I cut just enough so I could get my scissors in there and then cut it. But then because of this being mixed media paper, I couldn't quite get it to like flatten out correctly. So I just decided to cut the one end all the way through and then fold it up that way. And that actually gave me an extra page. So I ended up with 5 pages instead of 4 pages if I would have done it the other way that I was planning on doing it. And so I decided to grab my double-sided 3M tape and start taping this little journal together. And I could have left the front side of that one area with no tape, and then I could have had a pocket, but I decided to just tape the whole thing up. And then I grabbed my filing block and decided to file the top and the bottom to kind of even up the pages because, well, the top mostly was a little rough the way, I cut it. It kind of was a rough cut. And then there was 2 other sections where I just taped down the side and across the bottom and did end up making these 2 into pockets. The only thing is I wished I would have cut the tape in half on the side because as you'll see when I go to put tags in the pockets, I have to kind of put them in, slide them in more towards the middle because that tape is so thick. But I used tape then to tape those other 2 pages. And then once I get it all taped together, I grab some washi tape, and this is kind of a wide washi tape, and run it down along the spine to finish it off. So that's the little basic journal that I created. I decided that I wanted to distress and antique this paper, so I have instant coffee that I keep in a spray bottle, and I just make it really strong, and I use it to spray on paper. And if I had thought about this ahead of time that I would want to do this, it would probably have been better for me to coffee stain the whole page first and then make it into a journal. But I didn't really think about it until I got to this stage, so it was fine. It turned out just fine. So as you see here, I'm just rubbing, spraying on the coffee and then rubbing it and then blotting it just to kind of get it evenly distributed. And I could have gone back over it and kind of did another spritz and given it more distressed look, but I decided not to. Instead, I dried it with my heat tool, and then I grabbed my brown Staz-on ink and decided to go around the edges of the page, each of the pages, and then to distress the pages further with my I don't know what you call those little spongy things. And this one's been used a few times, so it's already kind of starting to crumble and come apart. So that's what I'm doing here. I'm just going around each of the pages and edging it. And I kind of like, that it isn't perfect, and it's, makes it look distressed. And then, of course, going over the page itself just to add more distressing to each of these pages. So that's what I'm doing here, is just trying to distress the paper even further. And in the end, this journal, I thought really turned out cute, and I was really, pleased with it. I'll probably do a little more to it. I'm not sure, well, I'm sure I will eventually do a little bit more to it, because there's lots of room to do some journaling and some writing. I just need to figure out what more I want to do to the journal. But you'll see what I mean in the end, how it turns out. It turns out real cute. So once I did this just dressing on all the pages, I thought, I think it probably would look better if around the outside edges it was just a little bit darker. So I kind of went back around the edges on all the papers or all of the pages, and decided to add a little bit more around the edges, just so that the edges were just a little bit darker. And I kind of started getting a little bit carried away there, but it turned out okay. I mean, I'm not trying to be particular or, even or anything like that. I'm just trying to quickly give this little book, a little bit more of a darker edge around it, each of the pages. And so once I get that completed, I grab a couple of craft tags that I had in my stash and some lace ribbon, and decided that they would be a good addition to this little journal. So I took a little piece of that and put it on the craft tags, as you see what I'm doing here. And so if you want to make yourself a little journal, and then I slide it into the two top pockets, then this is pretty much, the process that you can use. And there you go. You got yourself a neat little journal. And then you can decorate it any way that you wish. So I went through all of my ephemera and found elements that I wanted to use to decorate this little journal. And so that's what you're seeing here. I have the front cover, and then I have 4 other pages to decorate. So I'm going through and going to glue all of these things down to the pages. And I use Extreme Elmer's glue stick, and I use Eileen's tacky glue for the paper elements. And those little gears and that butterfly are actually little wood elements. And the key, of course, is metal, which I use an Elmer's quick dry glue for those the heavier elements. But I decided that I would put all of the other ephemera on the pages and then come back to the front cover and adhere the heavier elements to the front cover. I figured it would be easier to get these pages glued down and then come back and glue those heavier elements on there. That way they won't fall off while I'm trying to glue down the rest of these the items on these pages. So I'm just using both the Eileen's tacky glue and the Extreme glue stick to adhere these elements to the pages. And again, I thought it turned out pretty neat. Each page I selected a word or a couple of words that seemed, to go with the page and seemed appropriate. So each page at least has a word on it. The cover, I have memories. And if I can remember right, the first page, nope, I can't remember. I think it says remember. I can't remember, but I think it says remember. And then this page says I was here. And then the next page, which I will be putting together, and here I'm just using a China marker to kind of go around that little tag to help it stand out more. And this page says someday, and then the last page says happy. So that's what I put on each of these pages. And so I'm just continuing to put down these elements. And if you're wondering where I got these, most of these came, as far as the ephemera, came from Tim Holtz ephemera packs. I really like the Tim Holtz ephemera packs. They got a lot of neat elements in them. Some of the items, like the picture there of the bird, came from K and Company. I really like their ephemera packs as well. So some of the elements came from K and Company. And the little wooden gears and butterflies, or the butterfly for the front cover, I ended up getting that from Hobby Lobby, I believe, is where I found those wooden elements from. And the keys I ordered online from somewhere. I don't remember now. So here, now that I've got the pages and the elements on the pages down, I'm using the Elmer quick dry glue, and this is great for heavier elements to glue down these items on for the front cover. And then I grab a couple of books because I felt like that needed some weight to it while it dried. So I just put some books on it and left it. It didn't take long. It's a quick drying glue, so I think I left it for about an hour and it was dry. So I grabbed my China marker and then started to go around the elements on the cover, but I couldn't, it doesn't like get really close. It's kind of hard to explain, but it's doesn't get into tight spaces, or like it doesn't really get into the corners of the elements. So I grabbed my Stabilo pencil and I scribbled on my craft mat, and then I used a fine paintbrush to get into the tighter areas and to go along the elements to get the shadowing that I was wanting to get around the elements. And on the first page, I went around most of it, but on the other pages, I did not do a shadow around all of the elements. I just did, some mostly like underneath and to, I think, the left side of it. I added the shadowing. And then again, I used my Stabilo pencil and a little bit of water to kind of clean that up and to get it more in the corners and stuff like I was wanting to, in the tighter spaces. And the elements on this page, the red round thing came from Tim Holtz, and the other one, the dragonfly and the bundle of flowers, I guess it is, came from K and Company. And it had, that bundle had like a string around it, but I decided to look really cute if I actually took a string and wrapped it around it. So I did that. So that way it gave a little bit of more dimension. And I'm doing the same thing to the rest of the pages. I'm just going around with the China marker and outlining where I think it needs to have a shadow, and then using this Stabilo to get more of the detailed work and into the corners. And I'm rubbing the China marker with my finger to try to get it to, blend out and shadow. So that's what you see me doing here, trying to get the China marker to spread better. And again, just using the Stabilo pencil and a little bit of water to get the finer details of the shadows. And then this is the last page. And this one I do a little bit more shadowing because I decided to do shadowing around that bottom element and then the things that are sitting on top of it to make it look a little more dimensional. So that's what I decided to do on this page, and instead of just doing it around the outside of the elements, and to frame the word happy that I decided to put on this page. I felt like it needed some kind of an outline. So here, once I finished that, I thought, well, I would like to put a string around the book. So I went and tied a string around it and just tied it into a little bow. I thought that added a cute little element to the book. And then I decided it would look really cute if I added some tags to the book. So here I just had some leftover paper from another project, and I just kind of rough cut. I mean, I didn't measure or anything, and as you can see, I'm just eyeballing it and figuring out, okay, what size do I want? And then now that I got the size, I cut the other two to the same size and just kind of, as you see here, putting the one on top of the other and then cutting the corners off just to make these little tags to put on the pages. And then I use my Aleene's tacky glue to adhere those. I was going to staple them, but I decided I'm better off gluing them, because if I staple them, then it would make the pockets on the two pages even smaller, and then I would not be able to get my tags into the pockets. So I figured it's probably best to glue them on, and they don't come out, even. You'll see here in a minute once I get the third one on. They're not really necessarily even, but I'm not really that concerned about that either. So I get the third tag on, and making sure that they're on there real good. And I decided that they need to be distressed as well, so I grabbed my black Staz-on ink pad and I kind of go around the edges and scuff them up a little bit to give them some distressing as well. So that's what I'm doing here. And this is just about done, and the last thing is I wanted to distress those tags, so I do that. I go around the edges with black Staz-on, and then I distress them with the brown. So that's pretty much the little journal that I created for today. If you like this video, you can hit the like button, or you can hit the subscribe button if you want to see more, or you can leave me a comment. I would love to hear from you. I really enjoy doing these videos and showing everybody the projects that I'm working on. I like doing mini journals, working on art journal pages, and just all around having fun being creative. It's a lot of fun, and it just keeps me constantly, creating and having a good time. And then I put my lace ribbon back on the tags now that I've distressed them. And I tighten it up as much as I can, and I put the two sides together and fold it and cut the little V in there. And do the same with the other one. And that's the book. So there's the cover, and that's the first page, the second page, the third, and the fourth. Very cute. And then I have the two pockets that I can put the tags in the second page and in the third page. So put the little tags in, and that's it. Thank you guys for watching. We'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.